Did you see last night's game? Wow. Martin fired a series of threes and made them all. It was his third three of the first quarter, establishing a double-digit lead to begin. The opposing team played smaller last night, and the Bearcats seemed hard-pressed. They zoned and gave hard fouls. Martin pressed hard on the ball all night, serving up a facial, and Tyler kept taking it square in the chest. He was hard on the defense. I noticed he lost some weight. He seemed like a $180 and got more of a lift on the jump. The Jayhawks got the message, or figure it out on their own. But they seemed to be having trouble extricating the Bearcats from their list. When Parks tried to get the turn, Parks used his left hand to get the lift, block the shot by taking away the lift. Parks got in the lane all night long but wasn't respected as a ball handler. Pretty atrocious defense and kept doing the Wade fadeaways, less driving recklessly, like Jordan saved it for the fourth quarter. The Jayhawks played hard to the paint, but in the end, still didn't show up. The Bearcats are just an overall better ball team, and whispers are surfacing about being a reckoning tournament contender.
Yet, I went over the highlights on my computer.
While watching the highlights, I can't help but think of Michael. He wasn't a three-point shooter, but he had sheer athleticism, something these players lack nowadays. But he could stop on a dime and put some spin on the ball to make a layout.
It's almost like watching a movie with the guy with the crazy talent.
I don't know if Parks is rusty or if it's just mental. His play is becoming somewhat of a revelation. But I say, just keep playing and making money, neither of which he is doing. He's always been that guy. He has two things going against him. One, he was a drinker in high school, and two, his dyslexia.
Yet, why would you screw yourself?
There's actually a good story I was reading the other day in the New Yorker. Crazy, but it's not that his talents aren't in the cards. It's just his game is a mess.
So who would you say, Jordan or Kobe?
Oh man, it's hard to say. You know, I know in terms of physical talent. Gosh, that's a tough one. But you've got to read Bill Simmons' book. But which is a better ball player, gosh?
But you know, it's genius how Jordan plays. Today's ballers have so many inefficiencies, and they are all operating at different notes, so universally everyone in the league is inefficient.
Oh man, it's hard to say. You know, I know in terms of physical talent. Gosh, that's a tough one. But you've got to read Bill Simmons' book. But which is a better ball player, gosh? Oh man, I can watch Jordan highlights on YouTube for hours. While watching the highlights, I can't help but think he wasn't a three-point shooter, but he had sheer athleticism. Something these players lack nowadays.
Yet, sheer athleticism is very uncommon on the current ball court.
In Bill Simmons' book he says we like to think today's ball players are better than the ones we watched in the past. And he goes on to say that we put extra emphasis on Kobe's competitive nature because we need to believe he is better than Jordan. 'Cause we already did the MJ thing. I mean, who wants to rent the same movie twice? I think I've read this book at least 11 times.
Oh wow, sheer genius. That is so true. We always want the better version of greatness.
Oh man, you gotta read this. Bill Simmons' The Book of Basketball. It's all about coming in at the right time. Geez, you know, trends are changing. Our tastes are changing and getting more developed, and we are all getting older. I'm sure if Michael Jordan were playing today, we probably wouldn't perceive him the same. You know, with social media and Twitter, conversation happens a lot faster, and everyone is included. It's no longer filtered and moderated by the news media and commentators. And with everyone on Facebook, you know, I just read an article about Facebook this morning. It was in the New York Times, I think, but it was commenting on how kids these days are no longer on Facebook. One major component is Instagram. And I'm sure in a few years there will be something else to take that place. 'Cause I remember when MySpace started. I mean, I was never on it, but I remember when that started. Most things don't have staying power. Like my dad's baseball league, for example. I remember it when I was a kid and watching them play, and I think they created it with the hopes that their children would inherit it and continue the league. But rather the next generation was looking towards something else. I mean, we now have smartphones, and the idea of doing the same things our parents did when they were younger seems very antiquated.
So, how was your weekend, man?
I came into the office for a little on Saturday and Sunday.
So who would you say, Jordan or Kobe?
Oh man, it's hard to say, you know. I know in it's like giving kids a bonus for showing up to school. It's like, hey, you made it. No, yes.
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 I couldn't do a trip where the time to travel equals actual time spent visit. To me, it's a wash. I'd rather stay home.